This is day 12 of my 90 days in video challenge. My name is Karthik and I host the Design Your Thinking podcast. Now this video is for you if you are a podcaster, so don't miss out if you are a podcaster and you ever think that you don't have time. Let's jump right into the meat of this episode. So if you're wondering what the 90 days in video challenge is all about, go check out this link right below so you can get a complete perspective of what this challenge is all about and how you can join me in this challenge. A year back, I reached out to a bunch of podcasters and asked them one simple question. What is your biggest challenge with podcasting? And believe it or not, the biggest chunk of answers fell into one bucket, which is time management. There were all sorts of responses. I don't find time to research my guests. I don't find time to put out episodes consistently. I don't find time to do this, that. There were 100 different things that people were talking about, but all of them fell under this one bucket. But there were other challenges too, which I'm not going to talk about in this video. So just subscribe to this channel if you're watching this on YouTube, or follow me wherever you're seeing this video so you know what exactly the other challenges were and how you can go about solving them. Now, today it's all about time management. And one of the biggest challenges people talked about was actually putting out episodes consistently. I totally get it. 3 years back when I started my show, I ran into that very problem almost immediately. I used to put out 3 episodes a week, and that went on not for too long. And after about 6 to 8 months, I started to see what exactly this challenge looks like. It was a burnout. I was putting out episodes without any clue as to why I was putting out a certain episode in a certain time. So that led to so much of anxiety. I was scared and I didn't know exactly who I should be inviting onto the show. And now that's the exact problem that a lot of us face, anxiety. And one of the best ways you can overcome this anxiety and not having content put out whenever you need to get your episodes out is to actually have an editorial. Now, what is an editorial? Let's say you have a cooking podcast and you are going to come out with one episode every week, which is an interview-based episode. And let's say with this schedule, in the next 1 year, you're going to come out with about 52 episodes. So how does it look like? Having this first idea that you have to have 52 episodes is a good start. Now, how would it be if you had a clarity that said every month from now, you're going to be focusing on a certain theme? Perhaps it's a certain topic or a theme. I don't know about cooking too much, but again, it could be that the first month you're going to be focusing on oil-free cooking, and second month you're going to be focusing on vegan food, and third month it's going to be about baking. Now, I don't know exactly how you're going to plan this, but you get the drift. Having this clarity helps you understand two things. One, you have a plan, so there is a lot of clarity, so you're not anxious. And second, because of the clarity, now you know exactly what kind of episodes these need to be. And because of that clarity, you know who to bring onto your show if that is an interview-based podcast. So with all of this clarity, it's time for you to now start going and planning each different episode, right from the title of the episode to who's going to be on that episode and why that episode is going out on that particular date. Once you have this clarity, you are all set. You are no longer going to have a day without a podcast or a week without a podcast. So number one, have an editorial. Number two, I want you to consider a way where you can batch all your activities and do them in chunks. Now, this is a great tip I received long back, and I think it works amazingly well because since I started to do that, it has made a ton of difference, not just to the way I approach my show, but also the way I've actually approached other aspects of my business, because I got so much of time in my hand to focus on my business. So what do I mean by batching? Very simple. Now that you have an editorial in place, you need to think about how you can chunk things up or cluster all these different activities and actually try to do a lot of the work ahead of time so you don't have to wait till the last moment. It could be interviews. Say for instance, you have clarity for the next 3 months. So 12 guests need to be on a show and you know exactly who these guests are. Now it's time for you to reach out to these guests and book them for an interview and have time slots across 1 or 2 weeks so that they all get on calls in that 2 weeks period. And that way you are doing all the interviews in the first 2 weeks. So you get the next 2.5 months all for yourself to do the editing and the other stuff that needs to be done and perhaps focus on your business. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to have a standard operating procedure for almost everything that you do. Now, you're probably wondering what I mean by standard operating procedure. It's very simple. Standard operating procedures or SOPs are things that you would typically do to accomplish a certain task. Let's say the task is editing. How do you go about editing? Where do you have the raw files kept? Where do you have the project placed inside your computer? And how do you go about editing? Step by step, try to break that whole editing task into subtasks and have this clarity as to what it takes to edit a particular episode. And once you have this clarity, take that and put it up on the wall in front of you so you know exactly what needs to be done every single time you need to edit your episode. Now, similarly, you could consider doing it for interviewing your guests or, for that matter, marketing or promoting your show. Have a standard operating procedure for every single important task or activity that you have for your podcast. So that's standard operating procedure. Number 4 is to get templates in place. Now, what do I really mean by templates? Let's take my case. I run an interview-based podcast, so I actually send out a bunch of emails to people. Now, it could be emails to invite guests, emails to follow up with guests, emails to actually ask guests to promote your episode, so on and so forth. So I don't really necessarily write a fresh email every single time I need to reach out to my guests. I have a template. And that doesn't really mean that I robotically send out these templates. No, I don't do it. But I do take the template and customize 1 or 2 lines here and there and make it relevant for that guest and send out that email. So I really know that they are going to open this email and they are going to be on my show. So that's number 1, email templates. Number 2 is your episode templates. Now, what are episode templates? Now, you could possibly have a certain format for your episodes. I have a complicated format, but a very simple format would look like intro, body, and the outro. So if you have a simple format like that, say for instance, then you can create a template for this. So every time you have an episode ready, just put that episode right in between the intro and outro, so you have an episode ready. So those are the 4 different tips I really had for you. First, have an editorial. Number 2, batch your activities up. Number 3, have a standard operating procedure practically for every single thing that you have to do. Number 4, have a template for everything that you do, like emails and episodes. You can create templates for almost every other activity you do, but then these are 4 tips that's going to save you a ton of time, and in fact, it's going to give you a ton of time to actually focus on doing your marketing, promotion, and a ton of other things that really needs to be done for your podcast and your business. I really hope this episode was able to help you in saving time and also creating time perhaps. And if you like this episode, please click the like button right below. And if you are watching this on YouTube, I really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, because there are a few other things I learned from this survey that I did with podcasters a year back, and I'm going to share a video on each of these different feedback that I've received. So stay tuned by subscribing to this channel. Click the small bell icon right next to it so you know exactly when these episodes come out. Thank you so much for watching this video and following me on the series. If you're somebody who's not checked out what this series is all about, it's hashtag 90 days in video. Go and check this link right below to know more about what this challenge is all about and how you can join me in this challenge and make sure you overcome your fear. That's all I have for today. Till I see you with the next video. Ciao. Bye.